Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. So, this week we are talking about Walpi Ranch. Now, Walpi Ranch is an Airbnb that is listed in Joshua Tree. And over Thanksgiving this past year, myself, my sister, Allie, her boyfriend, Ryan, and our friend, Nikki, all stayed there for 2 nights. And the trip was going great. The first day we just kind of were hanging out in the Airbnb, chilling, relaxing. There was a hot tub. We were enjoying ourselves. And then the first night we had some experiences. And then by the second night, we got freaked out and we left early. So this episode is the first time we've all seen each other since Thanksgiving. It's being recorded on Christmas Day. So we just go through some of the experiences that we had, recalled how we felt throughout the entire experience. Some of the creepy things were with this Airbnb, where the energy kind of changed. So during the day, we never felt anything. It was a great time. We overall had a great Thanksgiving. But at night, it got really weird and creepy, and the energy just seemed to shift. It felt like everyone on the outside in Joshua Tree could look in, and it was on such desolate land. There was really nothing around, and you just felt constantly watched. I had swore that I felt an earthquake, two actually, but no one else felt it. Just feeling overall uncomfortable in your rooms, hearing sounds, hearing screams, the water turning on. So we'll get into all of that. I just wanted to preface the episode by saying that's what we're going to be talking about today, and I'm looking forward to hearing any feedback you guys have, any questions. So once again, thank you for tuning in. And I reached out to the Airbnb. I'm going to list it in the show notes, so if you want to book it for yourself and see if you have any experiences, go right ahead. I haven't heard anything back. I was also looking into some of the reviews, and no one else really says that they had any weird experiences there, which I find really hard to believe. So I'm going to keep searching and see if I come up with anything else to update with you guys. But we'll get to it. Thanks for listening. You guys were the first ones there. We'll start at the very beginning because I can't have anything super substantial when I first got there. But did you guys sense anything when you two first got there during the day?
No.
No.
When Ryan came out to get me at night, the first thing I noticed is how clearly I could see into the house. Because it was so dark outside, and so the light, I could see you guys, but you couldn't see me. So when he got me from the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we got there, I didn't feel anything.
No.
I
just thought
honestly,
that was creepy.
Yeah, but we got there during the day.
Yeah,
she came at night.
We got there by. It was we could check in.
You're like, hell yeah, jacuzzi.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is good vibes.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was not.
So I thought.
So we were able to let the dogs out. We ran around with Juniper.
And just to explain to the listener, so basically this house, it was in Joshua Tree. It is from Airbnb, and it's located probably a 5-minute drive off of one of the main roads.
It was 4 miles. I mean, granted,
4 miles off of the main road.
What was that little
in Joshua
structure
What was that
exhibit?
restaurant?
There was an art exhibit nearby that was kind of this pop-up. It showed desert shadows and all of these architecture pieces that was close by. But besides that, it was kind of a deserted area. There were maybe 3 or 4 houses nearby, but besides
and they were
that,
all next to each other.
Yeah, it was kind of in the middle of nowhere. So basically, you guys pull up. The house looks nice from the outside. I actually enjoyed the house. It was recently remodeled, and I think it was made into an Airbnb house. And
I do remember now when we looked at the rooms. I did not want Nikki's room.
That room's terrible.
I don't know. There was something about it. I was like, I want this back room.
Yeah, try undressing in there and wanting to cover yourself, and you're alone. I was embarrassed, and I was alone.
And for whatever reason, I kind of didn't want my room at first, but at the end I was okay with it. But it's weird because I feel
walked in and I'm like, really? I know I'm the last one to come, but can we rotate?
Out of the 3 bedrooms,
Every
each of us
night.
got a different vibe.
You know, in
each
Jersey
room.
Shore, when the last one's pissed as hell, because they're staying with Mike, the situation, that was.
You were the last to arrive.
Yeah, I shat on myself with that one. Next one would be the first. And I'm going to stay in every room so you guys can't sleep anywhere.
So since we were there for 2 days, the first day we really didn't feel anything during the day, right?
No, we were
I would say
busy
no.
though. Like as soon as you got there, what did we do? We ate.
We stayed busy. We went to the store. We just kind of hung out. Nikki, you didn't come until like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, because I had to work.
We had a fire outside. We went in the hot tub.
So we were just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I think we just basically anything there was to do there, we were doing it and kind of setting up and whatnot.
Now, the first night is when I first started to notice something. So I usually don't have a problem sleeping, and I always can sleep throughout the night. And for whatever reason, I remember waking up probably like 1 o'clock, and I couldn't sleep between like 1 and 3 o'clock. I just was awake for no reason too. So I had 2 instances to where I felt that there was an earthquake, and you're in that weird in-between state of half asleep, half awake, to where you don't really know what's real. But I swear that I felt the bed move, that it was kind of that earthquake feeling that
That's
you have
like
in the
my
middle of the
biggest
night.
fear, I think, with paranormal stuff or unexplained things is my bed being
Really?
shaken. Yeah.
Was that? Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. Was
No,
that
you're
the
fine.
only thing you noticed, like in terms of being an earthquake? Was your bed moving?
Yeah, because I've had it happen
You usually
before.
feel it in
like
your
an
body
actual
first.
earthquake. You
But
do?
like nothing.
Yes.
No, there
At
was
least
nothing
for
on the
me.
walls, but like no pictures rattled or anything on the desk that was in there.
Like my body, like I felt like vibrating, like I was vibrating.
Yeah, it was more of
first.
just the vibrating feeling. I felt it more. It just seemed like my bed moved, but like I said, it was kind of, you're like, don't know if you're asleep. You're asleep.
If
or
I woke
still
up and said,
awake.
"Hey guys, did you feel an earthquake?" and no one said yes, I'd be out. Actually, no, I'd pull out like a Ouija board or something, but I'd be like, "Well, fuck this."
You wanted to.
Yeah, I know, I'm a liar.
So that was the first part of the night, and then also I had this dream about
Is that
someone.
a map of our room?
Someone that I went to. No,
Oh,
I
no,
should
okay.
draw it out. Someone that I went to high school with, like passing away. And it was kind of like a dark, tragic dream, which I'm not a vivid sleeper. I don't really do like the REM sleep, but I had just a weird dream about that. And then
I had a dream that someone died, but I can't remember who.
yeah, because I remember I asked you, and
I said it was terrible.
you didn't want to like share, and I didn't really
Yeah.
dig for any more information.
You didn't want to share? Or
No, it was fucked up.
I really
No,
didn't
but
want
now
to
I
either.
can't remember. And I had a dream that Jordan cheated on me, but that, oh god.
Who?
Edit that out.
I think the first night for me, I woke up with heartburn, which I normally do.
We had
But-
pepperoni pizza.
Once I went out into the living room, I just stayed out there. Like, I just could not sleep after going out there. And I swear it was probably that back door. I think you should talk about
Tell them about it, because
Okay,
you're the
I'll-
1st
I'll-
one.
Neither of you want to talk about
I don't
it. You're like, you tell him.
Well, he gets what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like, well, and you, maybe it's just all the windows because it's so dark out
The
there that you
windows.
can.
But that was the door was the only one that didn't have blinds. We were able to.
That was
pull
kind of
blinds
weird that
on
it didn't have
everyone
blinds.
else.
Like, why didn't that door have blinds?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Because like where we grew up, or at least me, like I said earlier, like I grew up somewhere that was really remote. So I mean, I'm used to not being able to see like out.
See out, but you can see.
Like
in.
that doesn't bother me, but there was just something that like I was really uncomfortable with.
So basically, the kitchen door, which led out to the back, it was
Totally glass.
just a normal door, all glass, but there was no blinds. There was nothing there.
And I think too, just being in Joshua Tree, nothing around. Like, it is just so dark.
So dark, so desolate, and
They're gonna think I'm deep
From the-
breathing and then
from the outside, you could see in clearly because the lights were on
yeah,
while we were hanging out at night.
yeah, that's what
But
I
then
saw when I got dropped off.
during the day, you can't. Or, I'm sorry, during the night you can't see out because it's all so dark. So Ryan, go ahead. You could describe the door.
Okay, so there definitely was like the upper rack where you would put the blinds. So it looked like at one point there was probably blinds there, but this was the only door or the only like window in the whole house. I think.
It was.
blinds.
Yeah, that just didn't have blinds. And like I said, it just being so dark out there, I think once you like looked at that door, it just did give this weird vibe of I can't see anything, but clearly if you were on the other side, you could see in just fine.
You literally said like, this is like a horror movie.
Yeah, I know. Like it gave me
You said this is the beginning of a horror movie, like Last House on the Left or something.
I think the movie was called like Hush or something. But yeah, it gave me like this like a haunted movie vibe. For sure.
And Nikki, you said you felt the same in the bathroom, right?
100%. I don't know if it's a thing.
And just to be clear, like there was windows above the shower. That's like the layout of the bathroom.
And I just, again, I felt like really uncomfortable getting dressed and undressed and like showering or like even in my room after shower. I'm like, I don't feel like my skin was crawling. That's what it felt like. It felt like my skin was crawling.
It's funny though because it's all fenced in.
Yeah,
There's a fence around the front yard that blocks off the driveway basically, but all you have to do is push it. That's how you open it. So realistically, anyone could just move it over, or it wasn't that high. You could hop over it.
And I felt the same in my bedroom too, because they did have blinds, but the very bottom it was like broken on the blinds, so it was probably 3 inches of it being
peeping
exposed.
Tom area.
Exactly, like anyone could peep in and look.
Yeah, no bueno.
So that was a little creepy too, because everything was so dark. And I remember the first night. So after the 2 times that I felt the earthquake, I also
the quote unquote earthquake.
The quote unquote earthquake, because it felt so real in the moment.
None of us felt it.
Yeah. So if you guys all slept through it, especially
I'm
for
a light
how light
sleeper.
you were sleeping. I also heard it sounded like in the distance, like it wasn't outside the house.
Okay, so what he's about to say is just not okay with me.
A woman screaming, just like she was getting murdered. It was like a bloody scream at the top of her lungs. But it was weird because it started as a woman like way off in the distance, but it sounded like the voice changed from like a woman's voice into almost, it sounded unisex. Like you couldn't tell if it was a woman or a man.
That like just makes me
So
sick.
does it like, was it like higher pitched?
Yeah.
And then it kind of like leveled out a little bit?
Yeah, which
like,
was kind of creepy because it felt like it was for at least 30 seconds on and off.
I didn't hear it, but when I was up, I woke up at like 2, and once I went out there, I knew like with that door and everything, I was like, I'm not going back to sleep. So I was up from 2.
You stayed out there for a while, though.
Yeah, I was pretty much up the whole time. And the only thing I heard was like I think the first night was when I heard like a bang out there. And
like a gun bang?
No, it was more like almost like a car door, like.
Oh.
And then I look out there, and it's just completely black, like just nothing. And that's when I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But so that's the only thing I think night 1 that happened to me.
That's what even makes it creepier is because the sky is so big and there's really nothing around. You see the mountains, you see how flat everything is. And then also there were houses, like we said, that were nearby. Like there were actually next door neighbors.
They were pretty relative, yeah.
But it was creepy because you didn't see anyone, you didn't hear anyone. It was
looked
actual
set
ghost
up,
town. Like it
like
looked like it was a set
abandoned
on a movie.
or a movie set, yeah.
Even the truck next door, I don't
Never
know if
moved.
Yeah, but it had a flat tire.
Yeah.
So it looked like it wasn't even theirs almost. Yeah, it was really weird.
Something else that you just mentioned that I wanted to bring up is that you said the whole time you felt tired.
Oh
right?
my God,
so you
I was
didn't
exhausted.
feel like, yeah, you did work a long day and you had to drive out there, but you said you felt the whole time like drained, like you weren't yourself there.
No, I was going through a lot at that period too.
Do you think the house added to it at all?
For sure. I mean, but I know I carry my energy really heavy, so.
Okay, so any final thoughts on the first night?
It was definitely like the back door, I think, and then hearing that bang noise, and then yeah, just kind of having weird vibe.
Okay, so going into day 2, I don't remember anything happening during the day. It all seemed to come active at night.
For sure.
Once we fell asleep. So, yeah, during the day, we never felt anything. I think the first night, I felt like it was super busy for me as far as all of those things that happened. So I remember when I woke up, I wanted to tell you guys first thing that this was my experience. And I don't know if you guys were like Oh,
You
like,
literally busted in. You're like, did anything happen to anyone else?
because I had so much. I remember, like,
No,
as
you
I
walked in
was,
with that fucking notepad. I'm like, what is happening?
as I was, as I
What
was
is going on?
finally falling asleep, I was like, I need to remember as soon as I wake up to tell you guys about all of this stuff because it was so active for me. So,
Yeah.
Ryan, you sound like you had some experiences the first night, but then the second night is what became the craziest.
I think so. Yeah.
So, Thanksgiving, it's kind of typical Thanksgiving. We just kind of hung out. We did like a sound bath. We actually did a land acknowledgement. So basically, that's us showing, giving like thanks and credit to the Indians and whatever indigenous land that we were occupying. So we wanted to make sure that we covered our bases in terms of that. But besides that, I think it
didn't
was
work.
We don't know what it was.
We don't know
if
what
it was something
but we didn't have any
from a long time
we didn't have
ago
much
or something
protection.
more recent. But then going into the second night,
The sound bath was really peaceful for me though. Like that was like the most at peace that I've been in a long time, especially for the mental state that I was in at that time, which was uneased. I was completely like at rest. Like I was very peaceful. Then I don't know what happened.
everything was good up until we went to sleep the second night. So, Brian, do you want to start? Because I feel like you have the most to share.
Yes, I want to say it was maybe like 1-ish in the morning. And I think it started with the fire alarm. So it went off. And do you remember, like, it was like spurts, right? Like, it would be like 10 to 20 seconds, maybe? Was it going off or was it just beeping?
So wait, was it the carbon monoxide alarm?
Oh,
Is that
okay.
what it was? Because it was
that
like
We
a
were all
chirp.
just hallucinating.
It was like a chirp. It's one of those like slow.
Yeah,
It's not.
okay, so
it's loud, but it's kind of not the typical.
That's it,
alarm.
yeah, so, yeah. And then what would you say, like, because you were up after, would you say it was like every 10?
Every like 10 or 15 minutes, like you said,
15
probably
minutes.
like 1 o'clock.
And it was really loud because it was in the hallway. The hallway was longer, so it like really echoed into the rooms, I felt like. So that's definitely where it started. Now I'm up. Al, are you up at this point?
I think that's when I woke up because she kept moving out of the bed. She would go
Yes.
under the bed and she would hide, and you would go under to get her, put her on top of the bed, and that's when she would start shaking uncontrollably.
Yeah, okay, so that was it. So that's how it starts. Fire alarm goes off, or the carbon monoxide, and then Juniper starts getting kind of like reckless a little bit.
And Juniper's their dog.
And eventually she goes out into the living room. And I go out and like eventually grab her. But as I'm walking down the hallway, she's in the corner of the living room. She won't like come to me when I'm calling her. And she's just shaking and staring kind of like up at like, you know, more towards like the ceiling. And she will not listen to me and she's shaking. So, I mean, she'll, you know, if I call her name, she'll definitely come over. So I have to go and like in the corner, it's literally the corner.
There's nothing in the corner.
Yeah, pick her up and bring her back to bed. And then I think that's when she starts jumping on and off the bed, going under, and they kept like storage under the bed. So there's only like little gaps for her to lay. And then I think at that point, Al, is when I was like, hey, do you just want to go out in the living room? Because she kept going out in the hallway and then in the living room. And I was like, maybe we should just go out there and lay on the couches because she's like not.
Do you think it was something in the bedroom that she was afraid of, or do you think it was something in the living room that she was kind of drawn to and also afraid of?
I know, right? Like, it sounds like both, but she
would
thinks
not
it's
go-
the bedroom.
She would not go back in the bedroom because so we went out on the couch. You were laying on one of the couches. You had the TV.
Sounds like
on.
she's being tag teamed. Sounds like there was something in the bedroom and something outside.
Maybe.
Because the whole time my sound perception was off. I thought the carbon monoxide alarm was in your guys' room. I didn't realize it was in the hallway.
Yeah, I thought it was in our room too. So, but it definitely was out in the hallway, I think, because like I said, like it really echoed.
So you guys.
So eventually we get out in the living room at some point because of Juniper just not wanting to sit still and lay on the bed. Like I said, going from like the hallway, living room, under the bed, on the bed, under the bed. So we're like, let's just go. She doesn't want to be in here. Let's just go out and lay on the couch. And then, Allie, do you want to like pick up a little bit?
Sure.
Because we both heard the same thing.
Yeah. Up until this point, I had no paranormal experiences. Nothing weird had happened when...
Yeah, Ryan's like a very pretty...
And he's
like,
a skeptic.
Yeah, he's
Absolutely.
pretty skeptical.
Yeah, start this off. Ryan, share a little bit about this, because it's not that you don't believe it, but I just feel like it wasn't really your thing, and
You're logical.
you take it away. Yeah.
Yeah. There was always a reason for X, Y, or Z. Like,
Yeah, I think so. Like, I just never bought the whole ghost paranormal thing. I don't know. I feel like you have to be kind of open to it, though, right? Like, wouldn't you say? And
yeah, you have to like open it up to even acknowledge it.
Yeah, and like that's just not me.
You just don't you don't fuck with that. You don't open it.
Yeah, I feel like, and even like,
I'm like, let's hold a seance and talk to our ancestors. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's really it. I mean, whenever like you guys watch like any of the paranormal stuff, like I definitely find it entertaining, but I don't buy like any of it, you know. And I just feel like maybe that's again like me being closed off to it. But I mean, I do have to say after this night, I mean, there was, I don't know,
That's like just really impressive to me.
Yeah, that it
This is like groundbreaking. Breaking news.
So that wasn't everything so far. So basically, you went and you grabbed Juniper in the living room.
Al, so pick it up. So we're laying out there on the couch.
You're on one couch, I'm on the other couch with Winston, and I remember I was so irritable because I was tired. Nothing was happening to me at this point. I just wanted to go back to bed.
She's like, I don't give a fuck about anyone right now. I don't care if you're floating and walking upside down. I need sleep immediately.
And that was it. That's me. So we both were up. I couldn't get comfortable on the couch. You had the TV on, so I like couldn't sleep basically. And we both were up, kind of discussing, hey, can we sleep all night out here? Can we go back to the bed? Like, what is Juniper gonna be okay either way? Basically, the house is open concept. There's like a bar that separates, quote unquote, the kitchen from the living room, so you could see the entire living room from the kitchen and vice versa. So we're laying on the couches and we're having a conversation, and we just stop, and I said, "Oh, the kitchen faucet's on." And as soon as I said it, you started to walk towards it, and then it turned off.
Yeah, I would say it was
cringe. It no, don't worry, Ryan, I got it, and it turned it off for you.
I didn't know you guys were actually out there when the faucet turned
Was
on.
it
no,
on, or was it like drip drip?
No,
it was on.
So it wasn't on like if you turned it all the way on, and it's like
You just.
But it wasn't just like a drip. It was like if you
I would be like contemplating on whether or not I was losing my fucking mind.
So honestly, I was like, because I looked back at her because I'd be like, here, she's over there, like behind me, on a separate couch, and I turn around and I'm like, did she hear that? And she did, and I was like, there's no way.
You're probably like low key, like thank God, like that's someone else.
But we both
I
like
just
had
was
that.
like, really?
We're both like, oh, you're hearing that too, and then I said, that's the kitchen sink. But as I was telling you earlier, that would normally freak me out. I'd be terrified. My heart would be racing. I'd want to leave, but it was just like, okay, there's the faucet, and now it's off. Like
Yeah,
it's almost like how he said earlier, like you have to be open to that stuff to notice it. I feel like my back hurts. I feel like you kind of switched. You like were just being really logical. You're like, yeah, it's on, whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Like you weren't even like thinking in that moment, like, oh, that might be something else. You're being extremely logical.
Right. And it was almost
and
like...
he was like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, at this point I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And it lasted
A good ghost.
probably like 10 seconds because...
I don't think it was 10 seconds.
Well,
it was a long time.
By the time I turn around, look at you, then I start getting up. All right, maybe that's like 5 seconds.
Maybe.
I mean, it felt at least, I would say 5 seconds because I'm getting up from the couch and I'm walking over towards the kitchen at this point, and then that's when it just shuts off. And it's, again...
So it shuts off by itself. It starts by itself and it shuts off by itself?
Yeah, and the kitchen's so dark. Like, you can't really see anything in there, you know?
Yeah, because I didn't know this was actually what happened. So basically, were you up already walking to it when it started? Or did you hear it start out of just random?
We're both on the couch when it starts. And I'm getting up, going to, like,
it.
Like, it turns off, which is even creepier.
Because it almost acknowledges the fact that you're going to turn it off.
And then it knows that you're coming.
And it's like, no.
Yeah,
it's just like screwing with you.
Yeah,
it's fucking with you.
Yeah, and then
it targeted you.
And then I'm like, okay.
My poltergeist wants that ass. It said, bring that ass here. I'm gonna make you believe today. And she did.
And the whole time, I was not sleeping well in my room. And after the first night, too, I just remember, because it's so quiet out there and the house is so quiet, that you hear every little noise. So I just remember hearing...
It was extremely quiet, I will say that. For the brief moments that I did wake up, I was like...
eerie.
And whenever any of you guys would wake up and walk down the hallway, because it was I was on the hallway too, I would hear footsteps and...
But so once we were in the living room, and after the faucet thing...
Then you woke
Then you did wake up and came out, right?
Yeah.
I woke up and came out. Was that before or after your slipper incident?
That was before. Because after we go... We're debating at this point when Timmy comes out. He's kind of like freaked out. We're a little freaked out.
He's freaked out, but he's doe-eyed. He's like,
I think it was about 2 in the morning because we were gonna leave at that moment.
I was interested, but I was also freaked out. The first night, I was freaked out, but no one else had an experience that we could actually talk about, except my dreams and everything. So since no one else had any weird experiences, I was like, oh, okay, then it's just me. But then I got more freaked out when Ryan, who has been a skeptic up until this point, was feeling a little uneasy. And then also Nikki was just not feeling right about it. So when you guys started feeling a little bit weird, then I was like, okay, maybe there's something going on here.
Yeah. But so we're debating on like leaving then or waiting until, because Nikki has to leave early anyway. Or
yeah,
you
me and Nikki, because I had to work in the morning. So we had to leave at like 5 in the morning. I think we were waking up like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
So we're debating at this point, like, do we leave now or do we sleep for like 2 more hours and then we're all going to leave? Because me and Allie were going to stay there until we had to actually check out, which might be like 11. But now at this point, I'm like, hey, I'll leave when you guys leave. Like,
yeah, no one wanted to be there alone. I didn't want you guys to be there alone either.
I didn't. I know that. So we do decide, like, hey, let's just go back to bed.
Yeah.
So now we're all going back to bed.
We give it another try to all go to sleep, and then at this point, Juniper, so she came into my bed.
She wouldn't go back in our room.
She wouldn't go back in your room. She came into my bed, and at first I thought that she was upset by the chirping because it's a high-pitched sound of the carbon monoxide detector. But she was cuddling with me. I didn't fall asleep, but we were just kind of dozing off. And it started going off again like 15 minutes later, which she never even flinched to. So at that point, I realized it wasn't the high-pitched sound that was upsetting her, that it was something else that she was staring at, or the energy that she felt in the bedroom or in the living room.
Yeah, and to be clear, like, during this whole time, right, the alarm is going off, like, every 10, 15 minutes, like we said. It's still, like, during this, like, 2-hour window, is still going off. So, do you want me to go?
Yep, you go next.
Okay, so basically, like, around the house and outside, I just wore slippers the whole time. So
I can attest, this man had slippers on the entire time.
just nice, slip-ons. And at this point, when we were all like, yeah, we'll go back to bed, I had my shoes already in there right by the end table there by the bed. And so I just align my slippers
God, this makes me
right
so
behind
off.
right behind my shoes. So it's like, just picture like a pair of shoes and then directly behind it, like lined up perfectly, my slippers, right? We're going back to bed. The lights are off now. Actually, I think it was more like a half hour goes by. And I think, I'm just sitting there. I know you said you didn't sleep, so I'm like literally just sitting there.
Waiting.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the, the time to go by until we can leave.
That sounds miserable.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting there. And maybe
I'm knocked the fuck out.
Maybe I'm on my phone, maybe not. And then I know I was not on my phone at this point. All of a sudden, all I hear is my slipper move. So it just sound like, imagine just like kicking off your slippers, like that sound, or like just tossing your slippers on the ground, like that sound.
On hardwood floor.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. It's hardwood floor, and again, I think it just goes to like how this, like the layout was with like that alarm echoing, like it really echoed in the room, and I'm like, I knew instantly. I was like, oh my God, like there's no way that my slipper just moved. Like that's a slipper sound. Like this is so weird. And so then I get my phone and I look down at my slippers, and one slipper is now like on my shoe, like leaning against my one shoe, and they were, like I said, aligned perfectly, like behind. And now one slipper is like on my shoe up in front. And at this point, like I said, I was kind of freaked out, but I was also like annoyed. I was like, you have to be kidding me. Like because it's all the other stuff I'm trying to explain to myself, but this one I'm like, I don't really know. Like, how does that move like that? Like, I can't really.
Like the water's okay, faulty plumbing.
Yeah, or the one.
It's weird, stopping and going, but maybe something that you don't know.
Yeah.
There's no explanation.
I know, I couldn't think of one. That's why I got annoyed, because I'm like, all right, there is really something going on here. And I think at that point is when I got up and I started walking the hallway, and then you called my name and you're like, hey, are you up? And I'm like, yeah, I can't sleep. And I was like, I'm just going to go start packing, I think is what happened. And then you got up and kind of came and helped. So that, I believe, was kind of the last thing where I was like, all right, this is
that was the breaking point, because we said, during the day we didn't feel anything, but at night it's everything came alive.
Amplified.
It was 1 o'clock, I think both nights, at least for me. It was all of a sudden I went to bed, I was sleeping fine, and then 1 o'clock rolls around and it's you wake up and the minutes go so much slower.
They go so slow.
And I can't emphasize enough how dark it is out there and how quiet. So every little sound, no matter, I felt like if my stomach was making noise, you guys would be able to hear it, because everything is so quiet out there. So everything that happens, you hear.
And I think Joshua Tree, just in general, is a very spiritual place where people go to kind of have experiences in a sense, right? So. Yeah, I just do feel there was maybe some. Would you say the energy was bad though, or was it?
I don't think so.
Because you said, I kind of felt a little freaked out. You said you weren't scared. It didn't bother you, but normally you would be.
I was uncomfortable.
Yeah. See, that's kind of how I was, a little.
I wasn't. I mean, I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and there's been few where I'm yeah, this is good vibes. I'm cool with us hanging out right now.
Yeah.
Okay, you're chilling. Most of the time I'm get me the fuck away from whatever this is. Or like I said, I want to be covered up because I feel I'm not alone. That's how I felt there.
I felt whatever it was, like I said, it was completely different, at least in my experience, from night to day. It was a whole different experience.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel whatever it was didn't want us there. It seemed more negative.
Necessarily bad.
It seemed
I just didn't feel welcome.
Yeah, more negative to me than positive. But yeah, it was more of just a get out. I don't want you here. Almost kind of forcing us to leave. They almost didn't want us to stay the rest of that second night.
Yeah.
Just to get us out. And if it isn't an Airbnb, which it is, it's probably people coming and going constantly, staying for
so
1, 2, 3 nights. No one really stays there.
But
that's what we want to dive into now, is reaching out to the Airbnb host and the the owners just to see if any other people
What if
had
they
experiences.
like have the exact same experiences?
What is interesting to me is, I mentioned earlier that I've never seen Juniper act like that.
Yeah.
In terms of just her shaking and total
Distress.
Yeah, distress and just avoidance of anything. But you were mentioning back when we lived together, the different ways she would act.
When something was going on like that?
Yeah. Do you remember her barking?
Yes.
Like being aggressive?
Like she would look at, when she was little, she would like look at corners and bark.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Like a lot. Like she saw something.
Yeah, but she didn't bark.
She would make like snarls almost.
No, I'm talking about it in
Oh, this
Joshua
time?
Tree.
No, she did not.
Like, there was no noise. She just
No,
was
she
like
didn't.
utter terror.
And I think we should add, too, that we also had a French bulldog who could care less about any of this.
Yeah, you probably heard him.
He didn't know.
Oh, and then should we tie into...
I think we should end on...
That's what I'm saying right now,
I think this is a good way to
I
end
have
it.
one more experience, which I didn't intentionally save for last, but for me, it actually freaked me out the most out of everything, which it doesn't seem super big, but so right before I went to sleep on the second night, I was getting ready in my room, like plugging in my phone, getting ready to go to sleep, and I had an end table right next to my bed, and I put my chapstick on there. So the chapstick rolls off the end table, and it's high. It's not really close to the ground. I'd say it's like 3 feet at least off the ground. And it's a normal chapstick, rolls onto the ground, and lands straight up
yeah.
on its head. No matter
that's even weird.
if you tried it. Oh, I'm sorry, not on its head. Like it was vertical.
Just straight.
Yeah, head up, I should say. But if you tried it like 10,000 times, I guarantee you couldn't get it to just land that way. Yeah. For falling the amount of distance that it fell, and for it to land straight up, it almost felt like there was a force field, or there was something
like
a gravitational pull, like something that just like made it fall that way.
Yeah.
Like going to sleep that second night, I was like, holy shit, everything that has happened so far, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
So I think that set the premise for the second night for me. So as soon as Ryan kind of had the idea or was open to leaving early, I was like, let's just get out of here. We might as well just go home and get like 2 hours of sleep in our own beds versus not really sleeping here, wondering what's going to happen next, and then just being tired, even more tired after a full night of not sleeping before driving home.
Yeah, and I think once we were like, all right, we're leaving, nothing happened again.
Yeah.
I even slept the whole way home.
Yeah, you did.
Like...
Timmy's like, thanks. I didn't drive alone.
I was out. Okay, Timmy was having a concert for 12.
I had to stay awake somehow.
Yeah, and he did. But
Yeah, we got a coffee.
but when we came here, I asked you, as soon as I asked you what your like thought of what happened, because we haven't been together since the fucking fire alarm.
Wait, let's say that again. Emphasize the story. So basically, we were talking about what happened, like
And
recalling our stories. This is the first time all four of us have seen each other since Thanksgiving, and this is Christmas. We're recording it. And go ahead, Nikki.
I had asked you like to elaborate more on, because that morning, like we were all like rushing out. I just woke up for the 20th time throughout my stay. So I haven't really gotten to hear from him like exactly what happened. And as soon as I brought it up, the fire alarm in Tim's kitchen just chimed one time, just like
Kind of just like
The chirping.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was the same exact thing. And the weirdest thing, in the 7
like-
years that I've lived in this building, the fire alarm has been pulled, it's gone off. And it's always been like 5, 10, 15 minutes until, the fire department has to come or someone has to turn it off manually.
Yeah.
It's never just
if you look
chirped
at the
one
picture I took,
time.
my face is like open. Like,
As
I'm, like,
soon
just,
as you brought it up, 5 seconds later,
Yeah.
the fire alarm
and it was
goes
kind of
off.
like the energy just being like, hey, like I'm ready,
Like, I'm here.
like I'm here too, bitch.
Yeah, it was because I was trying to think of like,
You could
all right,
have
where did it start? And then that happens, and I'm like, oh my god, that is how it started. Very interesting.
It's Rose. It's Nikki.
Yeah.
Nikki's guardian angel following you. That
I
also
know.
wants to scare you a little bit.
I don't know if I'm nervous because I'm not used to like acknowledging the fact. You know?
That's what I think it is. I could be completely wrong, but
so it's either my guardian angel, who I call Rose, or like a demon. So
No. Okay. Well, on that note, do any of you guys have any final thoughts? Anything that you want to sum up what we've talked about, or if you want to run through, just like. Yeah, we can have a part 2. We're going to come with equipment. Maybe
that would be really cool.
Maybe there'll be other people who have had similar experiences that we can dive into.
Update when you reach out to the Airbnb host.
We like tab in an hour later, guys, she responded with that. This is...
Yeah, so maybe there will be a part 2. Do you guys have any final thoughts or anything? If you want to just go around, maybe say like the scariest thing that happened or like 2 things just at the top.
I mean, I'll start. I just think I should stress that I don't believe in really any of this stuff. I think that's really, and even like being in here and the fire alarm just going off for 1 second. It triggered you. And I was just like, how?
It triggered you.
It is so weird, you know? So I think I just would want to stress that, like, not being open to that kind of stuff. And I got to be honest, like, it's really weird how some of this stuff is aligning up.
Yeah.
So...
Nikki, any final thoughts?
No, I'm more of interested on what is going to be, you know, from now on. Because I wasn't really...
And the last thing I want to say really quickly is I know how you were really sensitive to the energy. Because even when we were leaving, when we had all this stuff, when it was at the height of everything that was active, I was like, Nikki, go in these rooms. Do you feel anything? Do you see anything? You were kind of just like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
You didn't
like
want...
our room.
You didn't want to like even feel what was going on.
That's so weird.
When I was scoping out, I'm like, okay, which one's mine? I literally looked in Allie and Ryan's room and said, not only is there stuff there, I can't take this one. I don't want this one. Like, I did not want it. And then I moved over to my room. I'm like, okay, this is literally not much better. But this is what the cards that I am dealt. So I accepted her, and she did not accept me. But, yeah, I mean, I'm more of her, like, interested to see where it goes. Like, I can't believe that all this happened. And I was there, and I'm sensitive to this shit, and I have no fucking idea.
Well, how do we, do we have...
Do you have Allie, any final thoughts?
No, just more so I'm interested in messaging the host.
So we're going to have to find out. We might have a part 2. And then, that's just what I wanted to emphasize is the fact that if one of us had some experiences or a weird dream or something like that, I could see, whatever. Maybe it's in someone's head, or the fact that all of us had these experiences and they all happened within such a short time. We were only there 2 nights, really like a night and a half, and then a day and a half. So it wasn't like a long amount of time, and we had all these experiences within such a short amount of time. So thank you guys for listening, and stay tuned. There might be a part 2.